We are ready. We're ready. We're in the Nutmeg Tavern. We're live. The doors are open. Everybody's crowding in, but there's still plenty of room. So come on in, find a seat. Again, I know you guys are complaining because I don't have anybody in the bar, and hopefully I will, but I just have to trick Ryan into it. And he's doing a whole bunch of events, so it's a little harder for him to get away. But I'm your host, John Townsend. We're going to be having fun today, talking about 18th century stuff like breakfast, because everybody likes breakfast. I am joined today in the Nutmeg Tavern. Behind the scenes, you can't see them, but Ivy is on the console.
Hello.
And Lauren is on the chat.
Hi.
There we go. So, two of those guys back there you can't see, but they're serving the important part, which is all the guts on the other side of the time vortex. Whew. I see Revealed by Fire. I see Diane Norcus. I see Katie. I see Gummy. I see Tammy. I see Pygar. I see Lisa and Terry. Lots of folks there. A lot of them are members and other folks. So breakfast, and there's Lorraine Scott and Allie. Breakfast is important. It's the most important meal of the day. Well, just like in the 18th century, or just like today, breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. It wasn't the most important meal today. People in the 18th century, we'll find that out later on. But super thank you for all you folks that were watching the French toast episode. That was fun going kind of back into the time travel knuckle sandwich for Benedict Arnold. We went back, I wanted to go back and look at some of those older episodes that we've done that are like super, people love them, and the French toast one, it was a perfect example of, wait a minute, let's go back and talk about French toast because it's got such great connections today, and yet its history goes back thousands of yees in almost exactly the same form, not even adjusted. It's just like, well, hey, we're gonna do this to bread, stale bread, whatever. So it was a great episode to do, a lot of fun, and of course, also connected with breakfast was the Egg McMuffin episode that we did, the sausage Egg McMuffin. Sorry, I have to say it right. But that one also breakfast sausage and what's going on with breakfast in the 18th century. So I know I touched on that some, but even in the French toast, we think of it as breakfast, but that's not in breakfast really cuisine. And so all the breakfasts I'm going to talk about today, not maybe one of them might imply something close to French toast, but regular people, that is not what they're eating for breakfast. So let's talk about breakfast. Do we have anything to talk about before we get to breakfast?
Let me just do the few super chats that we have, just so I can get caught up on those, and then. Okay, so.
Excuse me.
Okay, so a couple of these are from last week when we did the cooking marathon. Mm-hmm. So 1000 Nod sends in a note. Love the food, and Jane42 says, I didn't know how badly I wanted a catalog until it came in the mail and my husband suggested we buy outfits.
Woo!
And then Snor Wysotsky says, Dear Townsend team, want to say thank you for all the lovely videos. It made me interested in historical cooking and learning about the frontier. Been following you for years. Hope you are doing well. Best wishes from Germany.
Thank you.
And then from today, Datslav says, pancakes for dinner. I made it. Yay. # keep fighting.
Yeah.
And I love making pancakes.
Pancakes make a great dinner. So as I was doing research on breakfast, and I've been reading through recently, my evening reading is going through Dr. Alexander Hamilton's sort of itinerarium, where he talks about traveling in the colonies in the 1740s. This is not the same Alexander Hamilton you're thinking about. This is an earlier Dr. Alexander Hamilton from a generation or two older. in our 18th century time period. And he travels from Maryland up into New York and Massachusetts and then comes around. He's traveling for his health. He has tuberculosis. He doesn't know that. It's consumption. Could be anything. But he's trying to travel for his health. And he mentions a lot of meals and eating. Breakfasts, he's generally on the road and traveling very, very early. So he's getting up at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. He's already on a horse and he's going. And maybe he's going to have a little bit of breakfast along the way. When he talks about breakfasts, it's usually very simple. He will say something like, I breakfasted on tea. Or I can't say this right. He had chocolate for breakfast. So I'll just fix it that way. So most of the time when he's doing breakfast, he's talking about that. But I was doing more research. I found the multiple references, multiple specific times when we're talking about breakfast, especially for common people. They will tell you what people in the poorhouse or the workhouse or in jails are having for breakfast. And then I found some other references that talk about just the average or common man. Here's a workhouse breakfast, and they do vary a little bit depending on where they're at in Great Britain. All these are from Great Britain. Sunday breakfast. Each 4 ounces of bread and beer sufficient, not exceeding a pint. And then on Monday, a pint of beef or mutton broth, well thickened with oatmeal, and 4 ounces of bread. And then that sort of thing. And then on a Tuesday, 4 ounces of bread, and then a pint of milk pottage. So a thin gruel is what they're having in that particular location. This particular book, while it was talking about prisons, decided to say, let's also compare that with what's going on with prisons or workhouses in Europe. And so in Amsterdam, their breakfast was a little different. 3 slices of rye bread with butter and a piece of dry bread, 6 slices thick. And it says 3 slices weigh half a pound. So like a pound of bread. Probably their entire daily allowance of bread that they have to make last. So they give them all their bread allowance in the morning. You can eat as much of that or as little, and then you can make it spread throughout the day. And then most of the other days are very, very similar to that. So that was Amsterdam. In Shrewsbury, this was in sort of a hospital situation. People on half diet got a milk pottage for breakfast, and the same goes for full diet people. The rest of their day was different, but that was about the same. This person, sort of like this is a poor house. Sunday breakfast was a hasty pudding and milk or beer. Then Monday, hasty pudding, milk or beer. Okay, I'll give you a hint. All the mornings are hasty pudding, milk or beer. And this particular one. And then this one decided to talk about what a usual food for a laborer is. So laborers for breakfast, hasty pudding made with oatmeal and water, which is et with milk, and sometimes with a little butter. Now later on we'll get to hear a little bit more about hasty pudding, and there's different kind of variations on hasty pudding. Here's a 1782 House of the Poor, and they are getting 6 ounces of bread, 2 ounces of cheese. So that's very common. On a Monday, they got 6 ounces of bread and broth, and then cheese. So it'll vary depending on the day for these particular either prisons, workhouses, hospitals, any of those situations where they're kind of institutional. That's what they're doing for food. This one's a broth made with flour, onions, and water. I thought that was interesting. Sort of like a hasty pudding, but we think of that as sort of breakfasty and sweet, like we would do an oatmeal. But in this case, they made it savory and used onions as that. Okay, how can we boost this without actually giving them meat? Well, we're going to put onions in there. Now, this was another laborer's situation. The usual breakfast for a family is tea or bread and cheese. And then it said, like, their dinner and supper, bread and cheese or potatoes, sometimes mashed with that. But, it's like over and over, a breakfast is tea, and then maybe they're adding bread and cheese. And this is from a different, this is 1795, a different location, a different reference. They generally breakfasted on tea, sometimes bread and cheese. Now here we get into a variation of location. I think this is, Newcastle, so northern in that area of Great Britain. And it says, in Newcastle, a hasty pudding or a crowdy for breakfast. And you guys will have to tell me what a modern crowdy is, if I'm even saying that properly. There's reference here to cheese, but sometimes it seems to be just more than that. So I didn't have time enough to, get, yes?
I have some questions.
Okay.
Would you like to have some questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Lisa Davis was wondering if you'd watched Max Miller's French toast video.
I think I've seen parts of it, but I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing.
Katie Allen was wondering, what is gruel?
So gruel, and we've done a gruel episode before.
I put it in the chat.
Oh, good. You put it in the chat. There she is. Gruel is going to be like a thin oatmeal. And they have these varying degrees of it. And hasty pudding is like an oatmeal too. So they have a whole lot of like variations on a theme, slightly thicker, slightly thinner. And basically we would just call it oatmeal, even though oatmeal is more like the ingredient, not the finished dish, right? So oatmeal should be just ground oats, like cornmeal is ground corn. But we use the term and sort of, and even the oatmeal we have today is not ground. Usually it's mashed, and I don't know. I don't even want to go into the complication of what we think oatmeal is and what they thought oatmeal was. But there you go. Gruel, oatmeal.
Wonderful. Dwayne Wolodko was wondering what the most unusual breakfast was in the 18th century. So did you run across unusual ones today?
Well, I'll get to some slightly more when I get to the rich person's breakfast.
Gotcha.
How about that?
And just a comment from Talia J. Yes, much excitement here when the catalog came. And Heather Torrey sent in a member chat. Loving the catalog, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And Brian B. was wondering about chocolate, whether they had dark chocolate or whether it was milk chocolate that they were.
Well, I covered chocolate in the chocolate live stream and in the chocolate episode, and it's going to be not milk chocolate. It's going to be closer to a dark chocolate and sugared to a certain extent. But they might not sugar it very much. Depends on the situation and how you like it. And so some people might enjoy the sort of almost coffee-esque part of a chocolate breakfast, liquid chocolate in this case. So it's like hot chocolate, but not so probably sweet in what we're used to.
Okay, I have a comment from Mike Cruck. He said, love the lighting in the tavern today. Very cozy.
Yeah.
And it took us a while to tweak the lighting.
We're still tuning the lighting in.
And Mike Crook also gifted some memberships to the chat.
Super.
And then a couple people were they liked the new camera angle.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Coming in.
Yay.
And then Norby153 was wondering what methods they would have used for storing meat and smoking it and preserving it. And I dropped in the chat the short salt pork video.
Right. So, yeah, a lot of smoking meats, and we haven't done a smoked episode, even though we've done the smokehouse. Yes, I know, but there's timing to all that good stuff. That most of those smoking that isn't just let's give this flavor, which sometimes smoking is about that. It is a salting process, then a smoking process. There can be a smoking that is mostly a drying process, but that is you cut the meat up very, very thin, so that you're making it like a dried beef over the fire is what you're doing, and the smoke just kind of keeps the bugs away from it. Whereas if it's long term and it's a bigger cut of meat, then it's definitely salted first, then smoked.
Dwayne was also wondering if they had wild rice in North America in the time period and if it was used for breakfast.
I couldn't tell you about the breakfast part. The Native Americans are doing a lot of harvesting of wild rice all throughout that time period, and probably thousands of years before. Now, the question is how much of that gets traded into the market for, non-Native Americans. Right, so, and I don't have any good answers to that. Foodstuffs are being harvested by Native Americans and then traded, things like maple syrup and maple sugar, but I don't know about the wild rice.
Mason Schartz is wondering what's the best retailer for reproduction firearms.
Oh, I am so far out of the loop on that. I would get a muzzleloader magazine, and I would look at the things. I think there's some. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that one.
Ashley LeCount sent in a super chat. Breakfast for dinner is a favorite in our family.
Oh yeah. For that other question, you might want to check out I Love Muzzleloading's channel on YouTube, Ethan Yazel's channel. To see whether I think he might review some pieces. It might be a good question to put on one of his, in a comment on one of his videos. So
I will try to get him into that.
Right.
Okay, and I'm all caught up. So. Okay,
you're all caught up. Okay, I'll speed through these, although I've got a giant stack. No, it's not that bad. It's not that bad, really. No. This tells us gets specific about hasty pudding. We do have some recipes for hasty pudding, but that's sort of like a recipe for oatmeal, right? It's like you get it hot, right? Hasty pudding for breakfast and supper. The former is made by stirring boiling water upon oatmeal and stirring it with a stick or spoon shank or handle until it is so very thick that the stirring implement can with difficulty be got around. So very thick. It is then eaten with milk or with butter or milk. This is the breakfast of many laboring people, especially in the southern parts of the country, and with which they reckon they can work longer hours. And then confusingly, then it says, then with hasty pudding or a breakfast of bread and milk. So I think they're saying their hasty pudding is super thick versus normal hasty pudding. So there's that. I have to read that. It looks like there's more good stuff there. This one has a breakfast of beef broth. Milk broth, and this one milk broth in winter, or just milk in summer and milk broth in winter. Now, here is Johnson talking about when he's talking about living in the Hebrides, Scotland, and what breakfast is like there, especially by the leading families. So he says, having given the particulars of a Highland dinner and supper in the principal families, I shall complete the bill of fare of the day by reciting those of the breakfast. A dram of whiskey, gin, rum, or brandy plain, or infused with berries that grow among the heath. French rolls, oat and barley bread, tea and coffee, honey in the comb, red and black currant jellies, marmalade, conserves, excellent cream, fine flavored butter, fresh and salted, Cheshire and Highland cheese, the last very indifferent. A plate full of very fresh eggs. Fresh and salted herrings broiled, ditto haddocks and whitings, the skin being taken off. A cut round of venison, beef, and mutton hams. Besides these articles, which are commonly placed on the table at once, there are generally cold beef and more fowl to those who choose to call for them. So you can see some people are subsisting on bread and water, and then the leading families, I don't know if you could fit all that stuff on a table.
So K-Prime30 had a question about out-of-stock items and when they're going to come back in stock.
Yes. Good luck.
And the answer to that is it varies quite a bit from item to item, and if you email customer service, we'll give you our best estimate on that.
But you never know.
That's right. And somebody was wondering what your favorite breakfast is.
My favorite breakfast. Mm-hmm. What was Ivy going to say?
I was going to say pancakes, but...
Yeah, but I can't eat pancakes anymore.
But that doesn't mean they're not a favorite.
No, they're a favorite. My everyday breakfast is tea, just like in the 18th century. And if I could eat pancakes every morning, I would. With sausage, all covered with maple syrup.
Oh, this is an interesting question. Lisa Davis says, could you write a cookbook using recipes from your time travel videos? I think it would be fun to try to make those recipes.
Wow. I don't know. Maybe. We've only done a few, so it would be...
We'd have to keep on doing it for a long time.
Yeah. Either that or work them all up, and then we'll have episodes into the future. Into the future. Forget it. Into the past.
Speed and Style Tony sends in a super chat. Any mention of grits in the 18th century? It's basically a corn hasty pudding.
Yeah, there are references to that kind of heart of the kernel, but I'm not an expert on the references for that one. So I'll say, yes, I think so.
And Mandatory Carrie also sent in a super chat mentioning that Tony York had asked how far back did grits go. And again, it's a mystery to us. Could you do a video on pet cats in the 18th century?
We did.
We did do a live stream. I think, though, that it's archived, so I will put the Nutmeg archive in the chat, and
okay.
It's in there.
You might be able to search for that individual episode.
I might. If there's a search function, I will do my best to find it.
You could do it from the studio side. We'll try.
Okay. Well, I'll do my best. Okay, and I think that I'm all caught up.
We're a great segue. Let me, I try every week whenever possible. And thanks, last week was a marathon, so I couldn't do Patreon and all that good stuff. I tried to jump in vocal-wise on top of at the end, but that didn't work out. So, time vortex stuff. This week, last couple week, brand new Patreon people. Sarah Holiday, Steve Quick, Cappy C, Matthew Mattis, Ed G, I'll say, Ryan Robertson, and RTrain39. And we got some brand new Townsends Plus people, John A, John G, Justin J, Samuel P, Vigilio B, and Michael H. And then I see some new members here. Alan Mays, Sarah Quinn, John Martin, Kemper Beard, Davey Chains, Matthew, David Fries, David Collar, Mark M, Ray Flynn, and Dread. Brand new people. Brand new folks. Super thank you to your support, for your support. Can I do recipe we won't do, or should I do? No, we're gonna do tool. We're gonna do tool of the week, guys. You've probably seen this before if you've watched a lot of episodes. What's it called? It's the tool of the week. Okay, There you go. Good. I'm gonna put it down. We've used it on the channel before. It's not. You can. I'll just call it a tool. I'm not gonna say where you're gonna use it. I had some comments on some videos that I wanted to mention, and on Ship's Biscuits, No Face Monster. Yes.
I was just telling Ivy that this comment was for her.
Okay, this one's for Ivy. No Face Monster. I stumbled upon Ship's Biscuit. I stumbled upon this video. It brought back memories from my childhood. Apparently, he grew up on board ship. As a kid, I was reading Tintin comic books. And in this specific chapter called The Shooting Star, Tintin and Snowy get stranded on an island formed by a meteorite. They quickly resort to the emergency food box of the boat as the hunger strikes, and there were Ship's Biscuits in it. Everybody needs some Ship's Biscuits. On Egg McMuffin, Cosmic Insane... It's pretty bad, apparently. I love the premise. Yes?
We got a winner for the tool of the...
We did.
Oh, okay. Who's the virtual winner?
I believe Diane Norkis was the first one to guess
Woo!
it. There's some other perfect guesses, but I believe she was the first.
It's a salamander. Because, of course, salamanders are supposed to live in the heart of the fire, right? Don't ask me. Salamanders, of course, don't. But this is a salamander from the time period. They might even call it a fire shovel because sometimes they use fire shovels. They heat these up red hot and use them to heat up, broil things from the top. I like to use it whenever possible, although it's a little tricky to get really hot. You gotta have a nice big fire. Okay, Cosmic Insane on Egg McMuffin. I love the premise of showing up with nothing but clothes on your back. Mr. Adams takes a look at John and thinks how wonderful it is that fashion hasn't changed much in 250 years. And then Vigilant Cosmic Penguin says, I'm imagining John shows up in his usual 18th century gear, but his hypothetical companion, the viewer, didn't get the memo, and we're just looking super out of place in our jeans. Jim Corman writes on the Egg McMuffin, just a note of history. I worked at McDonald's when the Egg McMuffin was first brought out in the summer of 1972. Talk about the Wayback Machine. Commercially available English muffins, the same cheese we used on our burgers, Canadian bacon, and we used real eggs. That is, we actually had eggs in the shell. I remember my later-to-be brother-in-law working to get the technique right, as the instructions from the main office didn't quite work as well to start with. Eggs were not as forgiving as hamburger patties. I wonder if you had to cook them in a ring like I did. I don't know.
Maybe.
French toast. Latte Mafia. My late father called these poor knights of Windsor. Rich knights of Windsor. Those made with just milk were poor knights of Windsor. And then a different person says, Armir Ritter, poor knight. I probably butchered that. In German as well, if it's just with milk. And then in Sweden, they're called, I'm not even going to try that, poor knights as well, whatever Swedish is for poor knights. And Donnie, if it's just plain toast, they're called soldiers. So fun stuff there on French toast. And Lauren brought me a couple of reviews that we thought were very interesting that came in on products on the website. And this person is reviewing the Stretch stockings, which are pretty new to a new product this year. This person says, I've worn silk stockings from Townsends for a number of years, and when considering placing an order for a new pair, I came across the listing for these Stretch stockings. Being open to a new product, I decided to order a pair and wore them for the first time a few days ago. Quite frankly, I found them to be simply excellent. They are comfortable, look fantastic, and didn't sag a bit, which is always a problem, let me tell you. I was on my feet all day, dressed as a post captain in the Royal Navy during the Revolutionary War, and was frequently complimented on my kit. Images taken during the event indicate that I was able to set a good leg. And clearly these stockings played a positive role. I fully intend to order another pair. Ooh, these are long. The reviews are always the good ones. Always. This person is talking about the great coat. Truly superior. First, a disclosure. I am no longer actively involved in reenactment or living history. Things I've ordered here are for wearing in normal day-to-day activities. He must be a fun neighbor. That said, the experience left me with an appreciation for classical things. This coat is superb. Looking for a knee-length wool coat that isn't made with children's proportions in mind, already hard enough. But this is just wow. The cut, the seams, the lay, the drape, the cotton lining, the collar is all done expertly. The buttonholes even line up with the buttons, which is rarer than you think. Highest compliments to Eliza the seamstress. Here in northeastern Kansas, this is definitely a 3-season coat, based on what you put underneath it and on whether you not remove the shoulder cape, so it's a caped coat. It's perfectly comfortable sitting or standing for long periods. It blocks the winds without feeling like you're wearing something that's been lined with trash bags. Amusingly, all the compliments I've received have been from other men. And to anyone quibbling about the price, source another 100% wool men's coat or greatcoat that's handmade in the United States. Then give up on that and order this one. You'll not be disappointed. I don't have his name, but thank you very much. Wow. Every week, I try to talk about a recipe that I won't do. There are some things. There are some things I just won't cook. Syrup of roses. To make syrup of roses, infuse 3 pounds of damask rose leaves in a gallon of warm water in a well-glazed earthen pot with a narrow mouth for 8 hours, which is stopped up close, that none of the virtue may exhale. When they're infused so long, heat the water, again, squeeze them out, and put in 3 pounds more rose leaves to infuse for another 8 hours. Then press them out very hard. Then to every quart of this infusion, add 4 pounds of fine sugar and boil it to a syrup. I don't know, guys. I'm just not a fan. Although, I mean, at least it's doable. You're not distilling it, doing crazy things. I mean, this is an infusion, so.
Allie Burden was wondering why you hated rosewater so much. And I think the taste is just not what we're looking for. Too herbal, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. Something.
Okay, so I've got some notes here. Okay, so Valdarg was wondering if there were pastry shops in the towns in the eastern part of the U.S. in this time period.
I can't point to a specific reference off the top of my head, but yes.
Okay.
How about that?
Max Sarkle sent in a super chat. Time travel food idea, Pop-Tarts. A little pocket pie that can be reheated easily later.
Well, we have done toaster pastries.
That's true.
Right?
They looked an awful lot.
Right. So what is it called now? I think it's toaster pastries. I think if you search that. She'll try to find a link for that one. We just recently rethumbed that. It did have a confusing thumbnail image. Now it just shows them. One's kind of open face, but you can make them closed face too. So she'll find.
Do you want to tell people a little bit about thumbs and?
Yeah. So we've been working on re-thumbing a whole bunch of videos on the channel. So if you're like, what's going on with that? We're kind of updating a lot of thumbnails and learning about what's working with thumbnails right now. YouTube is a fun place to, it's an ever-changing environment. And thumbnails are one of those things that the recent videos are just going to keep going like they're going. but we're working on the back catalog right now, and sometimes the thumbnails can be a little confusing, or they've got text on them when most modern thumbnails for food don't. So we're adjusting a whole bunch of that and having a ton of fun at it. So if you see, and we'll probably be kind of updating some titles too. So having some fun with that.
There is a super chat from Mark Raymond that just has a pair that says cool.
Thank you.
And there's 2 super chats from Kindness Connection. That's just a super chat, no comment.
Thank you.
And same, or 3, I'm sorry. And then one from Bill Good New. That's again just a.
Thank you for your support.
Chat. And Speed and Style Tony sends in a member chat. Member for 16 months and says 36 months went by in a hurry.
Wow.
And a little nutmeg.
I didn't even know we had been doing it for 3 years.
I know.
That's crazy. Of course, he was probably number 1. So.
Probably. Okay. I think. Oh no, Uriah sent in a note that said, "When are you going to sing again?"
You know, I actually had picked out the song, but I forgot to practice it. Doe. So I have the next song coming up.
And Heather T sent in a super chat in support of breakfast.
Breakfast.
Delicious.
The most important? No. Oh, the fun, it's supposed to be the fun meal of the day. No, notice, in none of those breakfasts did they have cereal. No cereal. You just can't have it. Now, maybe if you pounded up Ship's biscuits with a little bit of that hard chocolate ground up in there, you could make your own version of breakfast. Yeah, it could work. I got some fun pictures, and we're going to go through these real quick. This first one isn't necessarily breakfast, right? I don't know. Why did you pick this first one out, Lauren, other than it was really cool?
I'm sorry.
The person in the barn with the cow and the milk.
I guess I was connecting making butter with breakfast. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe because I use butter for breakfast. I don't know.
Stick a stick. Let's jump into that. So this is a great image. It's Dutch, I believe, and probably 17th century or early 18th century because of the outfits that we'll see. But before we jump into, I'm gonna get tight on some of the images or on the specifics here. What? Somebody jumped ahead. There you go. Now notice what she's doing here with this giant butter churn. In that the giant butter churn, instead of having this just stick that comes out of the top that you have to go up and down with to make the butter, it's on a lever so that she can push and pull. That's got to be a much more comfortable way of working the stupid thing. No carpal tunnel compared to the other way. So there's this weird churning apparatus with the levers and stuff going on. And she's working on it in the barn. Now we can jump into the specifics. On the floor, we see a platter. We see the brass kettle there. It's not lined. It's just brass on the inside. A wash tub, a spoon. And then this kind of a dough bowl that's over on the floor, but it's got a hole in the bottom with a plug. There's even a repair. It kind of shows how it's repaired in that one spot. And a slot. So that's undoubtedly for draining, for letting the cream rise and then pouring off the milk on the bottom of it, or however that works. I haven't separated cream out lately, obviously, but that's for separating out the cream. So go on to the next. There we go. Yeah, we can see a little bit closer, and you can see the repair on that. And she's barefoot there. Which, I mean, I would expect that. I'm always churning butter when I'm barefoot. That's outside the door of that. You can see there's even the person looking at the artist, which I think is great. And remember the stockings and the person talking about his stockings staying up? Well,
his stockings saying.
Yes, his stockings are what stockings always do.
Yes.
It's like, boom. So totally perfect. I love that. So, and then I think there's one more in this series. You can do it. Yay! And I love the chicken in the basket up there. Now, let me tell you, our chickens like roam free. Those chickens will get into everything. So I've got a workbench barn, and they get on that bench and kick everything off. Like every day, there's something on the floor. And you'll find them, you leave the window open on a car, there'll be a chicken in there. Like, ooh, should I lay some eggs in here? It is driving me crazy. This chicken is related to our chickens. I know it is. Although, I mean, is this like on I don't, maybe the chicken nest is up there. Maybe it's sitting on eggs and they put it up there so the predators won't get it.
And there might be a pulley to bring it back
Maybe,
down
I
again.
don't see that.
I don't see it either.
Hey, what are people saying?
They're just having fun.
Okay. So, yeah. Well, there we go. We have saggy stockings. Okay.
Okay, are you ready to move on to the next painting?
Yes, I
Okay,
am.
before we do that. Okay, so DJ Drax says, I come from the upper Midwest and that has a heavy Polish-German influence, and I love blood sausage and find it works great in breakfast. Do you think they would have eaten that in the time period if it would have been around for breakfast specifically?
Likely in richer settings, yes.
And then My Titan 101 says, did Americans eat chilies or peppers in 17th and 18th century cooking? And I put pepper pot in the chat because I felt
Pepper pot. You see cayenne ghost. I don't think so. I think it doesn't come in here until much later. But there's Caribbean cooking and even Washington. George Washington was growing peppers in his greenhouses. So, yes. Yeah.
Lovely. E.W. Fisher 89 says, thank you for helping make me more interested in the time period, especially as my family has a connection to the cause of Lord Dunmore's war. I've been learning so much. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Oh no, did I? I'm going back up. I'm going.
They're finding it.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Ivy. Bill Goodnew says, how did we transition from simple blacksmithing to the machines of the Industrial Revolution? What technology made this possible?
It's even like today, machines make machines. And we just needed to see that constant, move from more and more precision. And part of that is Plain coming up with things like steel and then harder tools that can work that steel so that you could machine it and flatten it out. And so as you continued to do those things, you could kind of, have, less precise machines help make more precise machines, and then you can keep moving forward with that. And until we had that kind of precision working and the idea of interchangeable parts and consistency part to part, those things weren't possible. But we really start to see that just taking off like crazy in the late 18th century and all through the 19th century. But you really kind of had get that ground effort of, okay, how do we make a more precise thing from a less precise thing? That's not so easy.
Okay, I think we're all good to head on to the next painting.
Jump back into that slideshow. And this is, this one is, again, European. I think it's Amsterdam. The rest of the next one, there we go. So this is the big image, but it's so complex that we're going to jump in tight. There you go. So this is the reason why we brought it for breakfast, because here's a shop that's selling coffee, tea, and chocolate. Hey. What?
These people spell like me.
Coffee, tea, and chocolate. Now, this is a whole market day, and a million things are happening on market day. Now, notice this thing she's leaning on here, right in the center of the image. I'll go to the next slide, and we can see it down here in the bottom right-hand corner. I think you actually put fire in this, and we can't see the one side of it, but it keeps it warm. So you could put drinks and whatnot on that in the wintertime to keep warm, I think. That's my surmising here.
What is that animal?
Well, I think it's a dog dancing. And then there's, on top of the big dog's back, there's a monkey. Uh-huh. And we can see a person just at the very left-hand side of the frame that's got bagpipes or pipes that he's playing, and that the animals are doing their thing too. This is market day, so we have lots of entertainment and great things going on. And this is late 19th century, so we've got people in basically all kinds. Now this is a area where fashions kind of are mixed. In the Dutch in this late 18th century, we've got lots of mixed things. A lot of people make fun of them in cartoons because some of their fashions are still very, very old fashioned, but yet there's newer fashions here at the same time. Notice what the woman's wearing here. That's front and foremost that we see. She's got a striped petticoat on. She's wearing the mules, which are sort of like leather slippers, slip-on shoes, and short jacket made of a nice kind of just straight blue, probably linen or something. And we've got this lovely mix of colors and outfits going on. Go ahead. So this is a close-up of the dog and the monkey, just for the fun of that. And hey, look at his striped stockings right there. Mm-hmm. Like and they haven't fallen down, so they're good. They're good. But there's some saggy stockings over there too. Blue stockings. We got we can see the man with the pipes there, and there's even a person with a box on a strap. That looks like it's got an animal in it, and I believe that the person in the yellow jacket that's got his back to us, I think that it might be a hurdy-gurdy that he's got around his. We can only see the back side of the instrument, but I believe that's a musical instrument, and it's something like a hurdy-gurdy. That'd be my guess. We can see a vendor in the middle background. Off to the left there, that's selling fabrics, that he's got them draped over him, and he's selling pieces of fabric. And then an old man with a cart with a wheelbarrow, and he's selling pottery goods. I mean, this is market day when you can find anything you want. Go ahead. We move over a little bit further, and we've got. We got mixed outfits. We have military in the back there. We've got this sort of almost a waif here maybe in the foreground. He doesn't have his jacket even buttoned up or anything. The person he's talking to has clocked stockings, and we can see them very obviously on her feet. And I believe she's selling like broadsheets. So sometimes they would go around selling song sheets or like a mini newspaper, right? And we've got a market person there with the apron on, and then check out the person beside him. He's got his jacket on, and the tails he has tied in a knot to keep them so that they probably don't get dirty or whatever, and his hat is on completely sideways. I don't know how you would wear your hat completely sideways, but see how the cocked part is like over his ear?
Yes,
totally
that's so strange.
Right.
I wonder sometimes if they're trying to tell us, if it's communicating something that we're just missing because it's not our culture.
Possibly, especially with the coat up like that. That's a really good question. And then go ahead, next one. We see, this is just right beside that, we see a child with a hoop, and then we see a child with a drum. So we get to see children in all sorts of, oh, look, there's a kid with a stocking down right beside fallen stockings. It's not as rare as you think. A basket of, let's see, grapes, and I don't know what those little brown things are. And then maybe potatoes or onions. I don't know. She's selling. Good question. We got a chicken back there causing trouble. I know it. And these are stalls that are set up, or booths that are set up not as buildings, but like temporary little structures. Somebody's doing the dishes or, cleaning a pan. And then this one sort of in the middle-ish, that she's got heated food in that. So she's selling like warmed up gingerbread or something in that little booth there. And looks like there's also smoke and they're cooking something beside that. Who knows what's going on in the booths beside it. And then this is kind of up over the top of the crowd. And these are stage performances. There are 2 stages that are set up on front of these buildings. And they've got banners and posters. The one off to the left here, they've like taken the front of the building and they've turned it into scenery so that this play can happen up on the stage. And then on non-market days, you take that away and it would be the regular front of the building. And you could probably access it underneath the stage. I have no idea. The regular storefront. That's a little tricksy. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that. But wow, crazy. Lots of stuff going on. I love paintings like that. Whew. Wow.
Katie Allen was wondering if a lot of people had pet monkeys in the time period.
My grandmother had a pet monkey.
In the time period.
Oh, in the time period. He was evil, apparently. But I was too young to interact with the pet monkey. But my sisters and brothers all tell me about the pet monkey my grandmother had.
Is that your answer to the pet monkey?
Oh, I'm
question?
sorry. What was the question? Did many people have? I'm sorry. I got confused with the question was.
Did many people have pet monkeys in the time period?
If you had a sailor in the family, sailors would bring home lots of exotic pets because that's one of the fun things they like to do. One of the few things that sort of the perks of the job would be to come back with, strange things from foreign lands. And so that's a possibility. I think it was usually birds, parrots or whatnot, but monkeys are possible, but I don't know. I haven't got much on that.
All right, I think we're all caught up if you want to.
Next Monday, no, not Monday, Sunday, because we're putting videos out. Really, we are. We're going back into the feast series. So we're doing a poor farmer's feast. Yes. So we're going to have fun with the poor farmer's feast. Great episode. Had a lot of fun doing that one. And we got to cook in front of the cabin. So a little mix of a little different setting on that. Aaron went back into the catalog and on video content on footage and got some great farmer footage. So good job, Aaron. And wow, lots of great stuff. What do you think? Mm-hmm. So what was the answer to the poll?
85% they wished they made French toast. So the other people actually made some, which is can't go wrong with French toast.
Just like in the time period, French toast doesn't have to be for breakfast. It'd make a great midday meal or for supper. So you can make it. You can make it tonight. You could put eggs on top of it and sausage and make an egg McMuffin with French toast. I don't know. It's getting too complicated now. Did I miss anything? I think I got it all. We have a winner for the thing. Mm-hmm. We got to do fun stuff. Super thank you to Lauren and Ivy doing the hard work on the other side of the time vortex. I just get to hear it, have fun, and drink my tea, and grind nutmeg and talk chat about stuff. It's been great to be in the chat. Special thank you for you if you're here every week, and it's so much great support, and I'm glad to be here and have fun with everybody in the tavern on Friday. Hopefully I can twist Aaron and Ryan's arms, and we can get the other crew in here and cause some trouble in the tavern. A super thank you to Super Chats, members, folks on Townsends Plus, and Patreon supporters. All that makes it so much easier for me to make content, and especially knowing that there's a set of fans out there that can't wait for the next thing that's coming out. So, super thank you. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and thanks for watching.